I always try and walk by the sea on the way to work, and then I'll cut into town for a coffee, pick up a latte, and then walk to work. And the latte works like rocket fuel and keeps me going till lunchtime. So I arrive in my studio, I look around, and I hope that out of all the pieces that are in progress, there's something that speaks to me and tells me what to do with it. And if nothing tells me what to do, in other words, there's no stage of painting where it's a natural decision, then I'm afraid then I'll just grab something and do something drastic to it. The studio I'm in at the moment, I've been in for nearly 9 years. It used to be St Ives aquarium, so I try and imagine it sometimes as it was then, and it's impossible because it's been full of my stuff and artists before me for years and years. It's a lovely light space, and it's tucked away between a restaurant and a craft market, so it's completely hidden. And in fact, when the artist was working in it, who was in it before, I used to look at the door and think, the poor guy works in a cave, because it looked so unpromising. But once you open the door, there's this lovely secret, long, light space. And it's become a completely private and completely comfortable place for me to make work. And it's more private, I'd say, than my bedroom or something like that. It's got all my secrets, my whole secret self is in this studio. And I can do anything in here. I have hours every day on my own to think about anything and do anything. And I think that's something everybody should have, really. Fantastic colour. My best thing is the morning. I work really well in the morning. I work fast and I have lots of ideas, almost too many ideas to sort of control in the morning. And then it really dies off in the afternoon. And that's the time when I might do something which involves a lot of labour but not a lot of ideas. So in other words, changing a large canvas, the whole of it to a different colour, or introducing some very careful piece of work where I have to concentrate. They're the sort of things I do in the afternoon. I paint. I paint for lots of reasons. I paint because I can't not paint. If I don't paint, I go a bit strange. And another artist calls it no painteritis. You know, you go funny, you start going a bit funny, and my family would urge me to start painting again if I ever didn't paint for a while. But there's got to be more to it than that, I can't help myself. I really love it. It's one of those times when I feel completely happy and completely absorbed, is when I'm moving a painting forward and glimpsing things that I haven't seen before, that are coming out of the end of my hand. I really think that's pure joy. Okay, there's a lot of other frustrating stuff and trying to finish paintings I have great difficulty with and all of that, but I love that feeling. You get completely lost in it. I work in acrylic. I use fantastic golden acrylics, which I love, and I've got to know them. I didn't use paint before I came to St Ives, but over the few years that I've been here, I've got used to working with acrylics, and I really enjoy working with them. And I use them in layers on top of each other. It's just a way I've developed of working. And I use oil paint sometimes, but I find it very difficult to get on with. It's a bit like using margarine. It's very slippy and very slidey, and it takes a very long time to dry, and I don't it. And I still have a rather odd way of working with oil paint in the way that I apply it and the way that I use it, but I enjoy using it. It's just very strange. It doesn't really suit me, so I sort of fight with it. Working in sketchbooks is really important to me. It's something that I've always done, and when I was younger I didn't understand what sketchbooks were for. I thought they were for sort of showing the development of ideas to lecturers at college, and that it didn't really matter what I did as long as I showed them the right thing. And it took me years to understand that it's a personal thing, it's not for anyone else to see. It doesn't matter if the drawings in it are really awful, as long as they're the ideas, as long as the ideas come from it. So some of my paintings that I'm most proud of have come from the worst, smallest, scribbliest drawings done out of a bus window in Italy or whatever. And I tend to do my drawings when I'm away from home, so I don't walk around St Ives drawing. But when I go away, if I go to France or to Greece or wherever I go, I take my sketchbook with me and I work daily there, drawing anything that's in front of me. So it's not necessarily something I think will be in a painting. It's almost like an exercise. I'm just drawing, and it's months or years later that suddenly those images will feed themselves into paintings. When I start a canvas, I have a really, really clear idea of what I'm going to do. And that can be, the starting point can be from a sketchbook, sometimes from a dream or an idea that I've had. And I have an idea of a painting, not fully formed, but of something exciting, an exciting start. And I make that start, and I'm really, really excited by it, and I'm completely seduced by it for a short time. And I think that that's going to be it, the thing I've just introduced, the figure or the strange lines or whatever it is, that's going to be what it's going to be about. And every single time I make a painting, I'm deluded at this stage. And then, a few days later or a few hours later, I look at it freshly and I see that it's actually rubbish usually, or that there's something really wrong with it which I need to change drastically, and it just gets me started. So I believe when I start that I've really had the great idea, and then I realise that I haven't, and I've got to change it all. Being in St Ives is fantastic for me. I've tried painting in other places, I've tried working in hilly places, I've tried working in urban environments, and nothing has done it for me before. So I think working in this town, which has got such a big art scene, and having this fantastic big horizon which lets you think, means you can look out to sea and really, really have a clear head. It just suits me, really does suit me. I do my gathering of information outside the studio and outside Cornwall, but it's here that I have to be to make it. I have to be in St Ives and I have to be working here. All sorts of things can get me started with paintings and also give me a sort of heart-stopping moment. Things like sculptures, a lot of sculptures give me that feeling, particularly figurative sculpture. And something like a sculpture outside a town hall or in a square somewhere, I can just see that solidity of form, and that can do it for me more than seeing paintings sometimes. Also interiors, being in different spaces in people's houses, in my own house, and seeing objects and their relation to each other, and seeing drain covers and lines and rooftops and things like that. Although they don't appear in my work in any straightforward way. They're there because I'm noticing relationships between things and space around things, and that's what I'm looking at and looking for all the time. I don't have my own work in my house. I have one piece of work that belongs to me, of mine, which is a drawing, and I keep it in the studio and I look at it. But I want work in my house that's by other people, that's stuff that I can't do, that's exciting and different from what I do. Each piece of work I now feel has a separate identity. I don't tend to work in series. In fact, I don't work in series, and so each piece of work must have its own life, and I mustn't bring it to a close before it's ready. So some of my paintings take years rather than months or weeks, and it's because I keep making mistakes and I keep changing my mind, but I'm not prepared to release it into the world or let it go out of the studio until it's finished. And the point where it's finished is very, very difficult for me to put my finger on. But I think I have to say that it's when I don't have the urge to grab it anymore. I can't see anything that I could do that would make it better for what it is. I'm getting used to the idea that every painting can't be absolutely perfect in every department. It can't be all singing, all dancing. So for what it is, it has to be right. And it's not something you can inject into a piece of work. It's either there or it isn't. And I keep working until I think it's there. And sometimes I don't recognise it and I go too far. And sometimes I do recognise it and I do manage to stop it at the right place. And that's a great feeling. Again, I look at a piece of work and try and work out which is the weak bit, which is the bit I've got to change. Sometimes it's the whole lot. Printmaking is very, very important to me. It's the way I started painting. In other words, I did printmaking at college, and the way you make an etching, for example, over a long period of time involves excavating, sort of finding an image rather than imposing an image for me. And so in my paintings, I'm still doing that. I'm still finding the image, losing it, finding it, losing it, finding it. And I find printmaking quite difficult because you have to follow the process and you have to really think clearly at each stage. And so when I come back in the studio after making prints, painting seems easy and natural and lovely. And of course, when I'm painting and having difficulty with that, suddenly printmaking seems incredibly appealing because it's got this structure and you have to follow a process through. But I love doing both, and now I can't imagine not doing either of them. Music is very, very important to me in my studio. I listen to it at every stage of making work. In fact, if I forget to put the radio on or to forget to put music on in the morning in the studio, I wonder why everything seems a bit strange, and it's because it's silent. And I know artists who love silence and need it, but I love sound. I listen to the radio, and I listen to dance music, and I've got one tape, which is not a very well recorded tape, of a Steve Reich piece, which I put on when I want to finish a painting. It's the music I listen to, which sort of gets me in the right mood for finishing a painting. Sometimes, because the finishing takes a long time, it has to go on several times for me to finish. But for some reason, that's my finishing music. I have another piece of music by Graham Fitkin, which is concentrating music, which just boils everything down in my brain to being the simplest thing so that I can really think clearly. The times when I use really loud dance music and things like that is when I have times when I feel quite reckless with paint and I feel like being sort of dangerous, and then I'll put that sort of music on and it helps to support that feeling. It helps me feel a bit mad. As it stands at the moment, the future is very exciting. I'm going to move into a new, huge, purpose-built studio with a fantastic history, with fantastic sort of air in it. The quality of the air and everything and the light is wonderful in there. And I'm hoping to make larger work, larger, bolder work, but I have no idea what's actually going to happen. That's just what I think is going to happen. I'm keen for my work to reach a wider audience. It already makes little journeys up to London every now and again. I suppose it would be fantastic to have a good relationship with a gallery, maybe in London, but maybe not. I've got a very nice relationship with a gallery down here in Cornwall. It would just be nice to have another gallery. I'm less shy than I used to be. I do want people to see my work now. And I don't run past galleries that have my work in, expecting them to stop me and say, "Take your crap out of here." So I feel slightly more confident that I am actually doing it and will do it forever. I'm very, very excited about the future. And I can sort of imagine paintings that I might be able to make. I have no idea if I can make them or not. And I don't know what they look like even, but I've got a sort of feeling that something good is coming.